The Supreme Grand Council is chaired by the Supreme Grand Sheik and Chairman. The Supreme Grand Council is the central authority of our organization. To talk about the Supreme Grand Sheik and Chairman is to talk about the Supreme Grand Council. This the central authority they attempted to sweep that entity under the rug years ago. And it started in 1934, I think, where they says, well, if we sweep the supreme body, the Supreme Grand Council under the rug, then there's no central authority. With no central authority, then we have a free run of what we want to do. And that's unfortunately what you see here today in Moorish America. Not respecting the central authority, noted as the Prophet put the supreme body / Supreme Grand Council in effect, headed by the Supreme Grand Sheik and Chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Without the central authority headed by the Supreme Grand Sheik and Chairman, who is the mouthpiece for the Supreme Grand Council of 7 men, tried and true, agreed to by you, according to the Prophet, then it's a mug. The Supreme Grand Council is never non-existent as long as you have a Supreme Grand Sheik and Chairman who appoints those positions. We appoint. We don't elect positions. We may elect issues or come to elect a consensus on issues. But when the offices are there, they are appointed. That's why the Prophet has a copy on his first meeting on the back of the questionnaire. Those were appointments to appoint, anoint, and appoint. And he appointed these people as board members. Emilio Smalley, The appointments continues according to Act 1 of the additional laws as continues, or you can be taken out of office. The appointment continues by the Supreme Grand Sheik and Chairman, as the Prophet said to Melio, you will sit in my seat in my absence. That office. You have to have a continuance of that office. So we know that that office has always been filled and has been referred to as Supreme Grand Sheik and Chairman, or just Chairman of the Supreme Grand Council. They're intertwined. So this human body is the 8th one from that line, and Miliel being the first one. And to say that there is no line is to say that there's no Supreme Grand Council. There's no central authority. To say that, oh, the line has been broken so it not exists, that's not true. Even if all the vacancies have not been filled, the one who fills the vacancy is the one who holds that position as Supreme Grand Sheik and Chairman. He fills those vacancies. Right now we have vacancies on the Supreme Grand Council. Some of them are filled, and we're still looking for good men and women to fill the rest of the vacancies. But that doesn't mean the Supreme Grand Council doesn't function, because you can have alternates there to make up the 7 to get the business done for the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Supreme Grand Council meets quarterly, as opposed to what they think, oh, we only have a conclave once a year. And that once a year is a fiscal year. And you have to count the year that we started. That's why some people get off the track of what convention this is, because you're not on the main track anyway. The Supreme Grand Council is headed by the Supreme Grand Sheik and Chairman. And that person's position is to regulate and direct and supervise all activities of the Moorish Science Temple of America in conjunction with the laws, rules, and regulations that our Prophet Noble Raleigh has already laid down. The Black Gods of the Metropolis, this book written by Arthur Fawcett, in his preface on his book, he says it's amazing how the nationalistic movements or the different organizations have grown so far from an acorn known as Noble Drew Ali. He says that acorn has grown to the Black Panthers, has grown to this, has grown to that. Now, Arthur Foss said, I beg to differ with him on the particular level that they have not really grown to anything, but they were inspired by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, but they didn't take the step in nationality in the program that the Prophet has put together for us, which is foolproof, a foolproof program. However, the Nation of Islam uses freedom, justice, and equality in their principles, which the Prophet came with love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. So he just added equality to it. You have to realize that, again, we talked about this earlier, that many of these offshoot organizations were so heavily inspired by what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought for the liberation of our people of mental slavery, that they, instead of joining it and making it one piece, they wanted to do their own thing, which don't last. And it will not last. That's how you know it's not of a divine essence. Remember the saving power again. The everlasting gospel is not offshoots, or not even an offshoot, or something different other than what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought. It's Noble Drew Ali, it's his divine plan of the ages, or it's nothing at all. So there's no comparison to these organizations to what the Prophet brought for the liberation of our people. When he came, he was stepping fast and moving quick right down to the modern time. It can't be duplicated. So you have to get on the good ship Lollipop. You have to get on this train that Noble Drew Ali is driving. You have to get on that train. You can't be a sidewinder. You can't be a rock on the railroad tracks to say, well, I'm going to support the railroad track. That's not enough. You got to get on the gravy train called the Prophet's Divine Plan of the Ages, the Moorish Science, Temple of America, the Moorish National Divine Movement. You have to get on. And sooner or later, they'll realize that, and they have to go that way. Right now, I understand that our President of the United States of America said that he was a nationalist. A national. I think he said that. So are we. He's requiring on the census, I think, that everyone proclaim their citizenship, their nationality. Well, we're with that, right? We're with that. In the Moorish Science Temple of America, our Prophet Noble Drew Ali said that the burden of supporting the Moorish Science Temple of America is too heavy. And we all need to bear the financial part. So let's put in the per capita tax, he says. But then later he says, we're going to have the per capita tax / a representation tax. Well, everyone going to be represented. If you pay your representation tax, per capita tax, you are represented in your religious society, in your religious government. That is why the Moorish Science Temple of America has a per capita tax, representation tax website where anybody can go and see that you are an official member of the Moorish Science Temple of America and not a member of something else that has nothing to do with the Moorish Science Temple of America. And you are represented as a law-abiding legal citizen of the United States of America by our roll call called the representation tax of the Moorish Science Temple of America. So, again, for those who say, well, I'm going to join this group or that group, Act 4 of the additional laws of our Constitution says that we can't make any assertion or speak radical about any group of any organized group in the American flag, anything of that sort. So we can't talk about these groups as much as we can talk about our group. So ask us what we're doing in the Moorish Science Temple of America, but you can ask them what they are doing. But we know what we are doing is heavenly and divinely inspired by Allah Almighty Himself, to the point that we can't lose. We will never lose with the stuff we're using. We can't lose. in terms of liberating our people mentally, physically, and spiritually of this grip of the downfalls of the Negro, black, and colored. That must be erased. We must wash, symbolic of cleansing of the soul. And it takes time to wash away this Negro, black, and colored. It takes time to wash away the psychological effects of even calling ourselves Negro, black, and colored. It takes patience. Allah, our Lord, is patient with us, so we have to be patient with one another. Because it will never change that we are still the children of one Father, provided for by His care. And affection will bind us together in such a way that we will remember each other, even when we separate in the world. Oh, let's see how that's more doing. Let's see how that's more doing. We have to find more ways to love instead of hate each other. And this myth of who's in charge have to dissipate. We in charge, I'm in charge. Well, if you're so in charge, what about all the millions of our people who never heard of the Prophet Noble Ali? What about the millions of our people who deserve a right to have their nationality and be aware of that? So I say to Moorish America, and I say it with sincere heart, the Prophet has already said who's in charge. If you spend all of your life talking about who's in charge and who's the grand body, who's not, who will be saved? Who will we really help? Let's not forget our position in the Moorish Science Temple of America. Is it to see who's in charge or who can be better than that one? We get it that Moorish Science is overwhelming, that there's so much that we feel like we probably lost something. We need to pick up a crumb here, a crumb there, or what about that crumb over there? Or it could mean this, or could mean that. The what ifs are endless. Moorish Science Temple of America is governed by the central authority that the Prophet Noble Ali put in place. And without activity in that central authority, those out there who are doing all else, you will never, ever win. Never. We have the central authority here. We've been maintaining it and will continually maintain it. I'm not the last Supreme Grand Sheik and Chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Neither was the ones preceding before me. In 2080, there will be another Supreme Grand Sheik and Chairman. By that time, it will be many more up to then. If you don't record them, and if you try to find fault and, if the line is broken, what does that make you? That mean you're supposed to take over? That means, it's no more, it's all broken up, so that means that you're supposed to slide in? No, there's no sliding in. There's a continuance. There's a continuance of the legacy that the Prophet has already left. You know, the Prophet, again, told us about schemes. We know what a scheme is. Scheming. Huh? He said they're working every scheme that they can. And they come up with some schemes that you say, what? Where you get this from? You got to pay $200 and something to get your papers. That's a scheme. The Prophet said nationality is free. Not only here, but all over the world, nationality is free. Why do I have to pay you $200? You pay for what it costs to print that card, and sometimes it's only 25 cents. You pay for your button, which was 50 cents. You pay for your dues card, which is 10 cents. It costs $1.35 to get your nationality card. That's what it costs. So you say it's free because you only pay for what it costs to print that. It's free. So why come up with these kind of schemes like that? Well, I can show you how to save your house if you go to court and you do this. That's not in none of the Prophet's teachings. I would like to know where you get this from. Well, see, you're going to lose your house if you don't do this, and you have to do this. Where is that in the Prophet's teachings? Where? Well, you don't have to drive. You have to drive with no license. Is that in Act 1, Act 2, Act 2, Act 3, Act 4, Act 5? Where is that at? Help me to find this. These are schemes. And those who are working these schemes, the Prophet said you are an embezzler of the faith. That's what you are. Moorish Science Temple of America is a lawfully chartered organization. We are not here for schemes. We are not here to teach hate. We're not here to teach anti-Americanism stuff. And we're not terrorists. Never have been and never will be. We stand for this Constitution as citizens of this government. And anyone who think their condition could be better, the prophet said you need to be here in the Moorish Science Temple of America. And change your name to Do the Right Thing, Bey. Do the right thing, ill. Islam.